We're going to move into the sponsorship message, and this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or high achiever and you're committed to getting to your next level of success, impact, and greatness, you definitely want to join the 21-Day Challenge. Every single day, progress reports, weekly deep dive calls to help you break through your BS, uncover the limiting beliefs, put in new strategies, new actions, new behaviors, new routines to help you achieve that 21-day challenge goal. And it all starts right now. If you're interested, send me a message, chris@beyourgps.com. That's the email, or send me a message on Facebook saying you're interested or committed in the 21-day challenge. Interested and committed. We want both. So that was the 21-day challenge. Let me know if you're interested and committed in that. And then next is going to be the iTunes review of the week. iTunes review of the week this week is by Shanti Yogini. And Shanti Yogini says, uplifting and inspiring. This podcast is true to its name. No matter what area of discussion we're interested in, it will help bring out our strengths and make us be our highest possible self in that specific area. I first listened to the episode Marketing with Heart versus Hype. Cindy and Chris rocked the show. Chris is natural in making the guests their highest possible self during the interview by asking the right questions. Time just flew by. Dear blessed and beloved Chris, keep rocking, keep inspiring. The world needs more leaders like you. So thank you so much for leaving that, Shanti Yogini. And if you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes. You can rate, review, and subscribe there, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on iTunes to do it there, or you can search it on Facebook and leave us a review there. We appreciate all that feedback and anything you have to say about how we're doing, what you love, what you think can be improved so that we can grow. Now, for the man of the hour, Jim Padilla. Jim Padilla! As the founder of Gain the Edge, Jim is known in the personal development and business coaching world as the go-to guy for all things sales. He is a master collaborator whose purpose is to help entrepreneurs leverage the power of collaboration to scale their business so they can impact the world the way they intended. Jim is known for instilling into his sales team, it's not what you say, it's who you are being when you say it. And before this amazing human being comes on, I just want to say, I reached out to him a couple weeks ago to just ask for some support and some help and just, guide me through a period of time where I was having a difficulty in my life. And he really showed up as an amazing human being, made himself available. He has the biggest heart. He's just so grounded and real. And I love being around him anytime I can. So, Jim, are you ready to rock this show, brother?
Always, baby. Always. Without it.
I love it, man. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for being with us and just for being the human being that you are. I appreciate you. I love you, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, man. I love to be a part of people who are doing things, people who are on a mission, on purpose. We have so many people who are typically living below what they know they're capable of.
Yeah.
And being around people like you, man, it's just like you're just trying to blow up the ceiling every single day. You see me every day. That's the way it's got to be, man.
That's right, man. Thank you for recognizing that in me, Jim. And you're doing the same thing. We're going to dive into that, all the specific things that you're doing. Before we get there, theme of the day is a universe of duality. So, Jim, how has this concept of a universe of duality played a role and impacted your life?
Man, you got to hit me with a curveball right off the gate. It's interesting to me because we are typically, it's kind of, I see that as more like how you do anything is how you do everything. It's like, if you really focus on being grounded and the most authentic, bold, powerful, curious, amazing self, it transitions across any world that you're in. And that shows up, sometimes people show up, and it's interesting because I had to experience this in my life. I used to be one guy with my clients, one guy to my wife,
wow,
one guy to my kids, one guy at church, one guy out with the guys. And man, that's confusing. That's not duality, that's plurality. And it doesn't work.
No.
Right? But what happens once I started realizing that it was just so much easier to just be me, then now it's duality because now it serves its purpose in any world that I'm in. So I can be in one world impacting another world because I'm being the same person no matter where I am. I only have to worry about being myself. Am I Jim? Awesome. Okay.
I love it. I love it, man. That's like such a, I think I love this question because I know everyone I ask it to is going to have a completely different, perspective and story and meaning behind it, which is the whole idea behind it. And I love how you said, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And Jim, just from our conversations and being together, I know that you're the guy who shows up as your authentic self everywhere you go. And you even mentioned to me, if people aren't at like the 9 or the 10 level of how much we want to work with them, how much they're in alignment with us and our values and who we are, and if they're going to be anything less than a 9 or a 10 like dream client to work with, we don't got time for that. We'll pass them along. We got plenty of people who want to work with us. We'll pass that along. And I think that it's so representative that you live that you live your truth, you live your values, you live just being Jim, just being real, because you're experiencing the benefits of it, the abundance of opportunities, the abundance of life's confirmations and God's and universe, source, creator, whatever we want to call it, the confirmations that are being delivered to you that, Jim, you're doing it right. Just keep being you, keep taking those steps forward, and you will be provided for, you will be supported, man.
Amen. The thing I will acknowledge you on, man, is I wish I figured what I have figured out now. I wish I figured out when I was your age. So kudos to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you, Jim. So let's dive into more of what you guys are doing at Gain the Edge Now and everything you got going on. Tell us about that, what you're working on today.
Yeah. I want to touch on something real quick because I caught a portion of Conceita's interview with you. Yeah. And I love the way she was talking about how even though people come to her for, transition and transformation in body, mm-hmm. what they walk away with is transformation in life. Yeah. Right. And I have a friend who it's too hard to explain to him what we really do. He lives in the normal 9-to-5 world. He doesn't get to do. So he always describes me as his friend Jim, the life coach. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I get it, Steve. Okay, a life coach. But then I think about it, and it's like we all are. We just have a different skill set to getting there. Yeah. Like people hire me to help them improve and master the sales conversation. They leave mastering themselves. Wow. And it's the same. You do the same thing. Some people teach it through health and fitness. Some people teach it through sales training. Some people teach it through motivation and personal development. But at the end of the day, we're all helping people master life, man. Yeah,
and speaking of the universe of duality, we're always being the student and the teacher at the same time, where like we can always jump into either one, and I think it's important to be flexible with that. The best leaders are the best students, are the best followers, best at taking instruction and executing so effectively on it and being a high achiever and high performer like that. So for us to show up in our lives knowing that an experience with us, a conversation with us can change someone's life, even if we're not a life coach, even if we are working at a 9-to-5, if only people recognize that they had that kind of power and potential and capacity, we would live in such a completely different world. And I believe that we're moving into that age and era because of social media, and everyone has their own, opportunity to create a platform, speaking, Facebook Live videos, starting their own podcast with pretty much next to nothing investment in it. So it's incredible the time we're living in, man.
Amen. No better time to be alive in the world, man, than history than right now.
That's right. That's right. Awesome.
And by doing so, being around now allows me to be able to have amazing opportunity that I have with our business. And, the core of our business, we have two rails that we run on. And one is we have an outsourced sales team that serves industry leaders, primarily those who are scaling to 7 figures and beyond, and 7 and 8 figure experts, and people who have had a really powerful hold on who they serve and what their marketing plan is. And their main problem to solve is that they don't want to spend all their time hiring, training, and developing and leading a sales team. So we have a plug and play sales team that fits. If you're that 9 or 10, that fits with us. That we can, our motto around here when it comes to enrolling clients is, if it's not a hell yes, by default it's a hell no. Yep. So we don't need no maybes. And the thing that's blessed us to be able to make that happen is on the other side of the equation, we do sales training with our Sales Unscripted brand. And Sales Unscripted was born from all of the volume that we do. We've done 25,000 sales conversations a year for the last 4 years plus, and we're doing that volume. So we see everything that's going on in the industry, and we support all these different clients who teach sales training, and everybody's got a script and a 10-step formula and a 6-step process. And if you say these words, you'll get this response. And I never hear them say comma, hyphen, under these circumstances. They just say, if you follow this, you'll get that. It's like, dude, there's nothing on the planet that works that way. Nothing. So, and as many people as there's 350 million people in the United States alone, which means there's potentially 350 million different types of responses to a question you can ask.
Yep.
Right? And so you can't regulate that. You can't prepare for 350 responses, much less 350 million. So the best thing to do is focus on regulating you. It's all about mastering of self. And if I can keep myself on track, keep myself focused, grounded, on the right path, having the ideal conversation for the right client at the right time, instead of trying to just get a client, then I'm more likely to know who I need to be to show up to serve that person powerfully, which then leads to asking the right questions. And then you don't need scripts. You just need to trust your instincts and your relationship building skills and your ability to talk to people and tell them the truth.
Well, dude, I am so excited to get into what does it take to master yourself? How does that look and all that good stuff? Before we get to that, I know we're going to dive into that juicy gold mine. Before we get to that, let's dive into the gold mine that is your story and your journey and how you got to where we are today. Tell us about some of the challenges that you had to overcome building this business to I believe it's at multiple 7 figures now, just like rocking it, kicking butt, taking names. How did you grow along the journey? What were some of those pivotal learning lessons for you?
Yeah, I've shared a bit of it with you in the past, but it's important. It's very fascinating how this came to be because, I grew up in an abusive environment. I was born to teenage parents. My dad took off. My mom was just lost. So I grew up getting the snot beat out of me. There was no love or God in my home as a child. And so when you're a kid, you're getting abused, you start thinking everything's your fault. It must be because of something I did. And so as a kid, I started figuring out how can I set up my environment so that my mom won't be mad at me and want to hurt me. And so that's a skill set I started cultivating at a very young age. And then I was in foster care at 13, on the streets at 16, and in jail at 19. Wow. And same thing. The first 25 years of my life I literally spent every day when I was away from home, away from the environment, trying to figure out how to manipulate the environment around me, influence the people around me to feel safe enough to not want to hurt me. And then when I was away from home, I was trying to manipulate everybody else into believing I had this normal home life. So I was focused on influencing my environment 24/7. And then who knew that, a few decades later, I'd be making millions of dollars teaching people how to influence their environment to ensure people around you like you and feel safe enough around you to trust you and want to buy from you.
Wow. Right? Yeah. You got to experience the firsthand pain of living a life where I'm sure you felt like out of integrity. You felt like, oh my gosh, like this, who am I being? Who am I becoming by doing these, by taking these actions? And so you really got to check yourself, and you got to see and reflect back on all those experiences. And you've gotten to feel the pain of that and also say, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. You finally said, enough is enough. I'm changing who I'm being. So was there one of those moments where there's like, enough is enough? I'm changing how I'm showing up forever, like done with that old life?
Very much so. And I used to have an alarm company, and we had offices in 3 cities. We were doing door knockers, going and canvassing the neighborhoods. We were those guys. And then I was in mortgage in the 2000s, right up until 2008. And I was using basically using my powers for evil, right? I was influencing people. The thing to understand is that I was in such a survival mode and a scarcity mode that I just needed to make sure I got mine, which usually meant it came at the expense of you. And so I got really good at taking advantage of people to get what I needed. And in 2008, when the mortgage crisis hit, and I was putting a lot of people into bad loans that they didn't belong in, because it served my purpose to financial means. And then everything crumbled. And I met a woman at a gas station, summer of 2008, who came across the gas station to me. I had put her mother in a loan, her 72-year-old mother in a loan that she didn't belong in, because I made money and we gambled that the rates wouldn't change. Well, she ended up losing her home, and she said, "Hey, you're the devil, you're evil, you're vile, and you deserve whatever comes to you," because my mom is living in that car now.
Wow.
And I was devastated. I was like, I knew she was right, so I had no argument. And I felt like such a vile person, because I was just reaching a point where I just got tired of doing this to people. And I didn't know any other way. I just thought this was how you do it.
Wow.
And so I decided right in that moment that I had to change what I'm doing, because I'm about ready to implode. And so from that moment on, I just went to work. I scrapped my whole sales process. I said, okay, I need to pull out everything in the sales process that doesn't serve somebody and doesn't make me feel good. I want only things in the sales process that uplift people and serve me. And then that's how this sales process was born. I started going to work perfecting it. Then pretty soon, we're training other people how to do it. And they're like, you know what? How about instead of training my team to do it, how about you just do our sales for us? And so that's how this whole done for you sales process got to be born, because the people saw the power of how we were serving their people, and they wanted us to be able to do that for them.
Wow, dude, so powerful. So what was the first steps to developing the sales process and building a business around training people in this process?
I just saw that realistically, I knew that my view on the mortgage industry was that I had to take a turn. I was great at selling. Just at this point didn't know where to find financial clients who could qualify for loans. So I just started teaching people how to sell their services at a time where people were having massive financial crisis. So I just started finding those people, and I started going to companies and just doing outsourced sales management. I was like, okay, you can hire. I didn't want to go work for anybody, but I wanted to be able to support teams and help people master their process and reach their goals. And so I started doing outsourced sales management, so I could take on multiple companies at a time and be able to be in that environment where everybody was achieving different things. And I quite honestly, I get bored easy, so I can't stay in the same environment all the time. That's part of why this outsourced model works so great for us, because we work with different companies all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. So let's talk about the model itself. What are the things that we need to know before we start diving into it? And then let's start diving into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, the first part about this is really understanding that we take the approach that conversations are casual and sales is part of life. Like, you've literally been selling since the day you were born. Every single one of you listening to this call, watching this, you've been selling since you were 3 years old. You sold your mother on feed you or have a sleepless night. You sold your girlfriend or boyfriend on why they should date you. You sold your spouse on why they should marry you. My wife has to sell me on take out the trash, or I have to sell her on the benefits of why I shouldn't. Right? You sell people on go see this awesome movie that you just saw, or check out this amazing restaurant that you've been to, and you did it without a funnel and without a script. Right? I'm not saying scripts are bad. I'm not saying funnels don't work. I'm saying that they're not required. Okay, so it's about having truth-telling conversations that serve other people. The biggest problem that most people have with the sales conversation, is we're so overwhelmed with fear of how we're going to be perceived that it takes us out of being ourselves. Right? This is about self-mastery. The other part of it is that we're so focused, we're so concerned about losing or winning the sale, which is self-focus instead of other focus, right? So if we're truly showing up at the highest possible version of ourselves, then that means we are 100% here for you. And then if I'm here for you, I can't be concerned about me. And I'm just here to serve you. I'm just here to be, and so it requires me to be the best version of myself. And it's a lot of preparation, right? One of the biggest key components to this is the fact that is the art of preparation is something that most people don't really understand. You have to know that the ROI factor of preparation does not win up front. You have to put a lot of preparation in up front to get a little bit of a result. But the better you get at that preparation, the bigger the ROI is on the back. So most people tend to stop short of doing everything necessary. And part of that preparation is about really understanding how does money serve? You got to have good, clean money boundaries. You got to have real clarity about who you are, who you're designed to serve, and how and what do you do for those people, right? You can't be worried about trying to catch too many. You need to worry about, how different could your life be if you were to solve the problem for the one key person that you are most uniquely designed to serve. And how could you do that so powerfully and so masterfully that they would tell the world about you? Right? If that's your goal, you take a completely different approach to how you show up in a sales conversation.
So say that slowly again. What is our goal and like the ultimate objective in a sales conversation?
Ultimate objective in a sales conversation is to lead somebody to absolute clarity and conviction, clarity of what they need to do and the conviction to want to make it happen. Right? And so if you can help get somebody to a place where you can deliver such a powerful solution for them that they will sing your praises to the world, you've mission accomplished, right? Because now you know that you are all about them, all on fire for them, not focused on what are you going to get out of it. You just have to know that by serving them, your outcomes are automatically taken care of.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful.
So a lot of this was built on the approach of, we call it the win-them philosophy. Everybody talks about win-win.
Right.
And win-win implies equality. And quite honestly, I've never met two people that are equal. So if you and I try to reach equality, that means one of us has to compromise. I don't want to compromise. If I'm going to serve you and you're going to serve me, I don't care who wins. I want to give you the best of me. So what we do is, instead of win-win, we focus on win-them, which means we show up to ensure they win. So if my approach is always to make sure that, to use Gary Vaynerchuk's 51-49, to make sure that you always get the 51 to my 49, then you're always going to have that feeling that you appreciate me, that maybe you owe me, whatever. I want that to be. I don't want to owe anybody. I want everybody owing me, not from a sense of, they have a commitment to give to me, but the fact that I have over-delivered.
Yeah. Wow,
right?
That's beautiful. And so, is preparation the first block in making that happen, or is there another step, or even earlier?
Yeah. So the first part is really getting. You have to be 24/7 focusing on building yourself.
Okay.
Right? Mastering sales is about mastering self, and then it's getting really crystal clear. We have an exercise that we walk people through, and we call it the stages, and it's based on a waterfall. And the concept is that the waterfall starts with still water, heads to a falls and rapids, to a devastation below where there's wreckage and damage, and then back to calm waters. And we often we find most of our clients right before that waterfall, because that's the easiest person to find, because they're the loudest, the noisiest. They're jumping up and down and screaming for help. So when I say we, I'm talking about everybody watching and listening. That's where we typically go to. The problem is we come to them with the wrong approach. We're having the wrong conversation, right? So we need to have the conversation match the stage of growth, and development, and pain that are in. So we call it the stages of R&D: readiness, need, and desire. And so if somebody is floating further upstream, they haven't even hit any rapids. Now, they might logically know there's a waterfall coming, but they are not connected to that at all. They're just enjoying having a brew, floating down the river, right? And if you're trying to talk to that person about pain and frustration, they're not experiencing it. So you have to understand, where do you fit into that process? Are you the person who's ideally suited to prevent somebody from going over the falls? Are you the person who's better suited to deal with them in the crisis mode when they're about to go over the falls, which means you're about solutions, not about education and training and development. Right? Now, you might have all of those things, but only one can be the primary.
Right.
Most of the time, what we do is we find somebody about ready to go over the falls, and then we start trying to educate them as if they're a mile away from the falls. And when they're getting ready to go over the fall, they don't need a lesson. They don't need a lecture. They don't need a program. They need a freaking rope. Right? So give them a rope, pull them off, make sure that you understand the stage of readiness, need, and desire that they are in, so that you can better serve them. Right? Now, the one thing that's another player is you have to understand, like, what happens for that person. If that person is most likely tried everything, if you get them before they go over the falls, it usually means they're also potentially more financially challenged as well. So you have to understand that, right? So maybe you go for mass in that area, and you give a smaller entry point program. so you can pull people off and then feed them something better and pull them further upstream, right? So we help really, you have to understand that before you do anything else, because most people I see are having a good conversation, potentially the right conversation, with the right person in the wrong stage.
Wow.
Which means you're still not getting the result. You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? So the reason that we can do no scripts in our conversations is because we put effort into the preparation of understanding all of this ahead of time, so that you position yourself in front of the right people with the right message at the right time, so that they literally show up wanting to buy. Now you can just have powerful, truth-telling conversations about life-changing opportunities, and they move. And you don't need a coach to tell you what to say when you're just trying to inspire somebody to take action and holding them accountable to doing it.
So I love this, and I think what's really great about this is it gives us a conceptual level to understand it, and I want to dig into how do we tactically execute this, and what does that look like, being able to gain the edge, being able to master ourselves 24/7, coming prepared, and just speaking authentically, speaking our truth, the real us, so that it actually inspires and holds them accountable and makes the sale.
Absolutely. So here's the key. First, it's getting really clear on which of those stages. So the upstream, the going over the falls, the devastation at the bottom, or the recovery. Understand which one are you of those first. Okay. So you might be, if you're a recovery expert, and this is where you got to be real, because typically somebody who's already in explosion mode, they go to the bottom of the falls, they're ready to blow up.
Yeah.
They're on fire. That's the person who has got the highest stage of need and typically will pay the most. The problem is, if you're chasing the buck, you'll find that client. But if you're not good in a crisis, you're going to lose credibility and value. So don't go to those clients unless you rock under fire.
Damn.
Right? So understand that stage. And now if you're a person who's a recovery specialist, then you want to get really good at positioning yourself after the waterfall, because after they've blown up, devastated because they didn't heed the warning signs the first time around, you're there to catch them and say, okay, did you learn your lessons? Are you ready to work now? Right? So it's understanding all of that. And then you have to start just going into what are the traits, what are the things, what are the pain points that a person experiences at that point of the game. And so what message are they needing to hear? What message are they resonating with? Right? So you want to start getting clear on what kind of questions do you ask of the person in the stage that you're most suited to serve. Because the questions are obviously going to be different for the person who's in a recovery specialist versus the person who's preparing people for a waterfall. Right? So you need to start getting crystal clear what stage are they moving, so that you know what questions to ask. Okay? And then the format for our conversation is basically a park bench approach. We talk about a park bench approach to a conversation. And all you want to be, these are the 5 things that you need to know to have a powerful conversation with people. It's what do they want? Why do they want it? Right? What's the consequence of not getting it? What's in the way, and are you ready to take action? Right? You should be able to sit down on a park bench with a random stranger and in 30 minutes have the answer to all 5 of those. Now notice all of those questions are about them, not you. So if you're busy trying to probe them for how you can serve them, that's not the same conversation as I'm here to find out why you're here today. What are you looking for? What do you want? What's in the way? How bad do you want it? What's the consequence of not getting it? Are you ready to do something about it?
So it's not having an agenda of, hey, I already have a solution for you, and I'm just making sure if you fit in that box. And as soon as one of these is a little bit off, you're out. Rather it's like, hey, what is it that you're really going through? And let's put our heads together. What are some possible next steps? Well, one could be my services. Another one could be this. Another one could be that. So is that kind of an approach that you take?
Very much so. And so that requires that you are completely unattached to that conversation. Now, here's the beauty and the benefit. If you are doing your job well as a marketer and as a business person, let's say that park bench is not at the park any longer. It's in front of your business. Yeah. So the likelihood is the person who's on that bench is more leaning towards needing your service. Yeah. Right? If that park bench happens to be in front of Best Buy, you might be talking to them about technology, right? If they're parked in front of the restaurant, you might be talking to them about food. If that park bench is in front of your shop, the likelihood is you're going to talk to them about inspiration, motivation, and overcoming. So understand the fact that if they put themselves on that park bench, then there's a likelihood that they have a problem that you will probably be benefited of solving, right? So just really understand that.
And as far as where that park bench is located, does that mean where the conversation happens, like literally, like where you find them? Do you find them on social media? Do you find them on, live and in person at an in-person event? Do you find them literally at your doorstep for a business? Like, is that like physically, literally what you mean?
Both, yeah. It's online. It's in the physical space. Like, how are you going to find them? In that stage, you and I met at New Media Summit.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
For the most part, people there were there because they're in podcasting or want to be podcasting or want to be interviewed on podcasting. So it's safe to assume that most of the people there would be interested in monetization strategies for their podcasts. Right. So if you have that problem to solve, great. Now, if you have a mobile detail cleaning for cars, that's probably not a good place to put your park bench because most of those people, it's just a random crapshoot as to maybe whether they are or not. Or health fitness, right? It's a possibility. But if you know for a fact that the majority of that room is either hosting podcasts or wanting to be on podcasts, then you, as somebody who's an ancillary support to anybody in the podcast community, that's where you put your bench because you know that 90% of that room is likely to have a problem that you can solve or at least be able to be a support to them.
Beautiful. Right. Perfect.
So, because that park bench essentially provides the context.
Yeah.
So as long as you know where you found, maybe you found them maybe you have a specific Facebook group or social media room that you're a part of, where you put yourself in the room that everybody there is likely to be experiencing a challenge and a problem to a solution that you can provide. Right. So then now those conversations are more suited to lean towards your direction, but you still have to show up with the perspective that you're here to solve their problem and to get them clear and committed to wanting to solve it. Then and only then does it make sense for you to even position an opportunity. And if you do it well and do it clearly enough, then they'll actually ask you. Like 90% of the people I talk to, they go, well, that sounds fantastic. Do you know how I can solve that? Or how would you help me solve that? That's typically the kind of responses I get.
Yeah.
Well, I actually happen to be one of the best in the world at what I do, and I can help you.
Yes.
But I don't lead the conversation with that.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. So going through those different phases, going through the different steps of the conversation, the 5 steps you mentioned, can you go through those one more time?
Absolutely. So what does somebody want? Why do they want it? What's in the way? What's the consequence of not getting it? And very important, right? Are they ready to take action? Okay, because here's the keys to this. Just because somebody knows they have a problem doesn't mean that they understand the consequence of not solving it. Right? There's plenty of people who are aware that they're overweight. They don't understand that they're heading towards a waterfall at rapid speed. And they need to do something about it. So they continue down this path in denial. So we can't make the assumption that just because they know they have a problem, that they actually understand the damage or are ready to do something about it. So we have to make sure that all of that is clear. You have to get good at asking the kind of questions that put those thoughts in front of them so that they can visually see, oh yes, there is a risk here. Right. And then same thing of, why do they want it? It's like, what is it that you want? Do you want to be fit? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to solve this problem? And why? Why does it matter to you? Right? Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting. Interesting is good. Committed is better. Right? People who are interested are 99% of the way there. Committed means 100%. And here's a problem. This is a big problem that most people think. Most people assume that 99% is only 1% away from 100. In the reality, 99% is as far away from 100 as the East is from the West.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm only 99% interested, that means I still have 1% that's not committed. When I'm 100% committed, that means I have no reservations. I will move heaven and earth to solve my problem. Wow. So a person who's overweight but is still eating a gallon of Haagen-Dazs for dinner, they're not committed to solving their problem. They're not there yet. They understand there's risk, but not enough they're not ready to move heaven and earth yet. The person who's overweight but is killing themselves and not getting the right solutions, they're going to the gym, they're running, they're hurting themselves, they're trying to solve it, they just don't know how. Now they need a solution for somebody like Conceited, right? But so you have to help them get clear. Why do they want it? What do they want? Why do they want it? Okay? And then getting clear on what's the consequence. So you have to learn how to ask questions that illuminate for them what is the ideal consequence? What is the consequence of them not solving it? And this is the area where you have to learn this. Let me share a myth. I'm going to bust a myth for y'all. Okay? If you've learned any sales training at all ever in your life, you've probably heard that you need to get people to know, like, and trust you, right? Bust that myth. Know, like, and trust is not real. Okay, it's something that people have been teaching for forever, and that which gets repeated gets believed. And I'm here to tell you, if your goal is to try to get people to like you, you are failing every day. Because in order to get people to like you, you probably have to do things and say things that they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. Yeah. You're not having truth-telling conversations when that's the case, right? I've invested thousands and thousands of dollars into products and programs with people that I never met before. So knowing them is irrelevant, right? And trusting them is not the key either. Now, you can demonstrate trust in a number of different ways. You can demonstrate trust by just whipping out a pencil and having somebody write down the solution that you can provide for them, and have them go, "Oh my God, I've never thought about that before." Automatically, they trust that they can learn from you. Okay, but it's not about getting them to trust you. The way I look at this is know, like, and trust is if in this conversation, in our time together, if I can get you to know, like, and trust yourself enough to take action to solve this problem, I get credit for knowing how to get you there. Wow. Right? I don't care if you know, like, or trust me. Matter of fact, I could care less if you know, like, or trust me. I do care if you know, like, and trust yourself, and you're ready to take action, surrender to a great program or great leadership, and know what you need to do in order to get moving. Right? Know that you can't stand the pain that you're in any longer, so that you're actually ready to move heaven and earth and solve the problem. That's the goal, right? And that only comes from bearing the truth. You got to be able to extract from people what they really want, why they're not solving their problem, why have they been able to tolerate this for the last 6 months or 6 years or whatever long time they've been doing it, right? And then ask those questions, actually expecting the answer. Give up rhetorical questions. If you say, why have you dealt with this for the last 6 years? Shut up until they answer. I don't care if you sit there for 5 minutes. Let people answer, and then you start pulling from them the experience of the frustration, right? You know, you have to allow them to experience tension, but you don't want to inflict tension. You just want to ask the right questions that allow them to experience their own tension.
What would you say are the emotions is there a certain set of emotions that are essential for a sale to happen?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't believe that you have to feel pain. People always say, you got to get to the pain. I don't believe that. I believe clarity is what you should strive for. Usually the clarity will illuminate pain, but not always. Sometimes they're just frustrated. Sometimes, if the key is, I think you should strive for some sort of emotion, right? That emotion could be anger. It could be, why the hell are you asking me this question? I don't want to answer this question, right? It could be joy. Like, I cannot believe this solution actually exists. Yes. This is amazing. I've been waiting for this my whole life. Why would you put that person in pain, right? That person is excited about a solution. Yeah. Right, which actually makes them a rarity, because most people aren't inspired by solution. They're usually inspired because they're fed up with the pain they're experiencing. Yeah. Right. So moving to some sort of emotion is real. And please, guys, let me caution you on this for those Briggs Myers and DISC people out there. When you start talking about the detail analytic and the only thing that solves their problem is details, not emotion, that's false. Right? Because the part of the limbic brain that makes decisions for us does not process logic. It only reacts to emotion. And so it gives us the emotion that says, yes, it's okay to move forward. And if somebody is a detail person, what gives them the warm and fuzzies is being able to line up the dots and T's, dot the I's, cross the T's, and give them the details they want. So, but then when you get them there, you got to get to, okay, awesome. Why does that matter to you? Now that we can show you that everything is lining up in order, what are you able to accomplish now, and how does that make you feel? There's always going to be a feeling associated with it. They just might not be able to engage it very well.
Wow.
Right? So understand that.
That's powerful, man. I love it. I love how there's these myths that we have about sales, and just because everyone has their own platform to share, whatever they want. and it's easy to get people excited and to share information that goes viral, that gets spread around. And is it really the truth, or is it really the highest and best good that people can use and utilize to create a sales environment or a world environment where people are being benefited, and there's that win them mentality going around everywhere? I think that this is beautiful, man.
And it's everywhere, man. You got to really embrace this. Understand, this is the hard part. If you're on Facebook, if you're on the internet, I don't know who isn't, but you're being bombarded every single day with just a slew of experts.
Yeah.
And everybody's claiming. Just start paying attention to absolutes and definites, right? I am the contrarian guy. I have a fresh perspective to just about anything you can bring to me. Give me 5 seconds, I'll find another perspective on it. Okay? But the one thing I know for sure, the more that I learn, and I've learned so much being able to run businesses the way that I have. I think I couldn't even have a conversation with the Jim Padilla I was 5 years ago, because I've learned so much.
Wow.
But the thing I know for certain is nothing is certain. So anytime somebody gets up and says, this is the golden ticket, this is the one way you will make 7 figures, they're full of shit already, because there is no one way. There's only the way that they've done that works for them. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It doesn't mean it won't work for you. But you have to come in with eyes wide open and question the process and question everything, because it's all about, does it work for you? Does it work for your people? And under what circumstances? And under what time frame, right?
Yeah.
So question it.
And I love this too, because this creates a world of thinkers and, self-reflective and reflective people who are actually curious, who are actually in discovery, rather than just droning through life doing what everyone else does. We don't need more sheep. We're in need of leaders. This world needs more leaders, more people who are willing to step up and go against the grain and be the contrarian. So I love that you're living that, Jim. It's awesome.
Hey, it's important, man, because that's the stuff that people need. Think about this. When you're talking to somebody, when does somebody come to you for a solution? Typically, they're broken on some level.
Yeah.
They're missing something. In some way, they're incomplete. No matter how big or badass they are as a business person, you're the expert at what you do. You're the best in the world at what you do. You might only be the 1% of the factor. The rest of they might be crushing it in life in 99% of their life.
Yeah.
But this 1% is broken, and you're the person that can fix it. So you have to understand that in that area, they're a little bit wobbly, they're a little unsteady, they're a little unsure, they might even be fearful and angry about it. And the thing they need from you more than anything else is clarity and confidence. They need certainty.
Yeah.
You have to exude certainty. Now, you may like me, you may not like me. There's a lot of things about me you can guess and question, and you're probably right on a lot of it. The one thing that is not in question is my certainty. Right, I am absolutely crystal clear about who I am and what I do and who I serve and how.
How does that play in with the aspect of being open-minded, though? Because I think there's an aspect of certainty that creates drive, that creates an unwillingness to entertain other possibilities, like a determination, a decision has been made, and I know that I know that I know that I know kind of thing, that creates the certainty. So how do you balance that in terms of being open-minded and willing to take on new perspectives and also having certainty?
Great question. That's where the more you narrow your lane, when you're crystal clear who you are most ideally suited to serve in those stages on that waterfall, right? If you're the person who is fantastic at the education process, and so you have a huge success rate in preventing people from ever hitting the waterfall, you have to be certain in your method that you know what will take to get there. And that's where testimonials come in. That's where, you being able to speak to case studies, say, look, this is what happened. This has been my experience with 175 people that I have talked to, the 100,000 conversations we've had in the last 4 years. This has been the experience with 73% of them, right? So refer to facts. Don't just tell people information. Always interpret your information. Don't tell me 97% of the people you talk to did this. Tell me what that actually means in your world. Now I can understand it in third grader language, and it makes sense to me. And then if you can articulate for them clearly their problem more clearly than they can, they give you credit for knowing how to solve it. Right? You want them to have this feeling that you've been reading their diary. So when you talk to them about their problem, like if you're that weight loss coach, I always use this example because it resonates with a lot of people. But if you're the weight loss coach, you can talk to them about, do you have good eating habits? Do you struggle with weight loss, blah, blah, blah. That's great. That's kind of generic. But if you ask questions like, tell me the last time that you had a midnight refrigerator trip that left you feeling devastated and guilt-ridden and ashamed to the point where you beat yourself up to death and you didn't work out for a week and you hid yourself in your room. Right? Maybe, I'm sure if you're the expert, I'm just pulling an example.
Right.
But that's something that you're going to have somebody's going to go, dude, you've been reading my diary.
Yeah.
You have a camera in here?
Right.
Because you're demonstrating that, look, I've worked with hundreds of people that are in your situation. And I get you. I feel you, man. Right? Wow. That's way better than saying, I'm a weight loss specialist. Right? So it's learning how to speak in the language of the person that you're dealing with. Right? Awesome. And that might be the person further upstream, but then when that person is at the waterfall, maybe you're talking to them about, dude, you can't take another hospital trip. Right. Time for you to wake up. You're now the fireman with the hose saying, look, I'm about ready to put out the fire in your house and you can't ask me what color is the hose. It's time for you to just get out of it. You're about to get wet. Right? So because you're trying to deal with them and they're too busy trying to rationalize what's going on. So you have to understand your client and how you serve them best in the stage of readiness, need, and desire that they are in.
This is perfect. So I want to move into either presenting the solution, if you have feedback on that, if you feel that's more important, or objection handling. They're kind of combined into we can kind of combine them. What do you have to say on those two?
Yeah, when it comes to providing the solution, I believe, first of all, just a semantics point, we don't actually use the word objections here, and it's not because I'm afraid of it or have some hokey stance around it. I don't believe that people actually object. I believe that they lack clarity, and so they hesitate. So we actually talk about hesitation. What is it that causes people to hesitate? And I can literally say that to you. So when I'm in a conversation and you go, yeah, I think I can afford, I don't know, that sounds like a decent price, but I'm not sure. I don't have to overcome an objection.
It's like, what has you objecting right now? It's like, what?
I'm just going to literally address the fact that I sense your hesitation. I'm sensing your hesitation around the price.
Wow.
So have you, what's been your experience with that price? Do you feel like this price isn't justified?
Wow.
Or is this something that the price has got you worried about something else? Right? So I can just literally address it. And no matter what it is, I will always address it through the hesitation. Because that's the fact. Wow. The reason that objections is such a challenge is because, think about it. I mean, for you to have to overcome an objection, that's one of the number one reasons that people don't want to sell. Right. Because they love the first 30 minutes of the conversation. They just hate the last 10 when they got to ask you for a credit card and talk about the offer, because now their palms are sweaty and their guts in the knot, and it sucks. Right? Because part of it is because you're waiting for them to say no, and now you're fearful for the objection. You want to overcome it. I don't want to overcome anything. I'm on a journey with you for your success. I'm here with you to partner for your success. So let's talk about what are the things that are holding you back. So here's the other part of that. You have far fewer hesitations at the end if you have a lot better clarity in the beginning. So the more clear I like to just remove hesitations from the beginning. Get crystal clear. Like, if we're talking about where do you want to go? That can't be vague, and it can't be wide. It needs to be laser focused and narrow, something that they can get crystal clear on. Right? When I say, what do you want to be in 5 years? That is a huge question that most people can't even put their mind around. I can't. I could tell you, I don't even know what country I'll be living in 5 years from now. Right? But if you're going to talk about big picture, you must backstep it into what's the next steps. What are you seeing for? What's the thing you have to solve in the next 30 days for that to be a reality? Right? Give them clarity. You have to shrink their mind because their brain's going to go in a lot of different places. Yeah. And then immediately now they can't land because they're not clear, which then by the time you get to make an offer, they're going to have some generic response around, I need time to think about it, or I can't afford it. You now think you have an I can't afford it problem, when the reality is you have a clarity problem because you didn't get them clear in the beginning. Right? So you have to be clear about what's their problem. You can't move to a solution for the problem until they've identified that they have a problem, that they identify why they must solve the problem, that they identify clearly that they know the consequence of not solving it, and that they're actually ready to take action to get moving on it. because too many times we don't get that commitment, that clarity, and then we're trying to sell them something. Like, dude, you don't belong selling them anything if they haven't demonstrated that they're absolutely sold out to wanting to solve their problem. Okay, that's cool. Until you're ready to solve it, I don't think we really have anything here to talk about. Wow. So, I just like to know what your plan is to move forward. And you'd be amazed, because that's the kind of stuff that people, there's levels. I would say that the majority of sales conversations I listen to, we audit calls all the time here. And the majority of the conversations that I listen to, if true clarity is reached at, we'll just say a level of 10 depth, right? Most people get about 2 levels deep.
Wow.
It's just amazing to me how many people refuse to go deep. They just keep going lateral. And because there's resistance for us. It's hard to go, when you start speaking truthfully to people and asking powerful questions, it's dangerous. It hurts. It's scary.
Yeah.
Can't do that. We got to be able to get through to the reality, and that's when the real conversation starts.
Yeah.
Here's the one. I know we're wrapping up on time here, but here's the key question. I literally have a contract that I made with myself a few years ago. If you have a question in your mind, and you're asking yourself if you should ask it, my contract with myself is I must ask that question. Anytime you say, "Boy, I don't know if I should ask this question," you just committed. You have to ask it. And I promise you, 99 times out of 100, that's going to be the most important question of the whole conversation. And that's when the conversation will just begin.
Wow. Dang. That's amazing. Jim, dude, this is gold. So I know our audience wants to know, how can they stay connected with you? How can they get more? And, if we want to wrap it up and just, summarize what we shared in this, we shared a lot, but, final takeaways, call to action, how can people stay connected with you and continue the journey, man?
Yeah, the main thing here, understand completely that you are a salesperson. You were born selling. This is not, all you have to understand is how to do it on purpose, right? So lose the fear, lose the tension, give yourself permission to suck at sales. It's okay, as long as you're just genuine about it. People will root for you to win. Okay. And to stay in the conversation with us, we actually just opened up a Facebook group. It's called See You at 7. And there's a link in it in the show notes here, I believe, or that we gave to you. We just opened up like a week ago. So we'd love to have you join there. And the whole theme here is we're all about helping people move from 6 figures to 7 figures. And we're just sharing behind the scenes the stuff that we're learning, the stuff that we've done while we're on our journey. And we're here to support you. So please engage us there. Ask as many questions as you want. Be visible and be part of the conversation. And then we have a Leads Made Easy challenge that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks, which Chris is going to be awesome enough to promote for us. Absolutely.
So Jim, dude, thank you for what you do. I love you, man. Your heart is so big, and just how you show up every moment is the best. I appreciate you. I know our audience loves you, and everyone listening, watching, definitely take that next step. You deserve it. You deserve to follow this man, Jim, because he's going to give you the gold. He's going to empower you, and there might be someone better out there for you. I doubt it. But until you find that person, stick with Jim.
Well said.
Thank you so much, Jim. Have the best day ever. We'll see you soon, okay?
Got it, buddy. Appreciate you.
Awesome. Appreciate you too. Take care.